Show me your fish. Show me your fish. Hold 'em up proud. Flying them flags, bragging how we getting down. Show me your fish. Put a fin in your mouth. Smile for the camera, back up and stretch your mouth. You better let him run till he quits. Fighting like Moby Dick. Pull him up way for the kiss. Show me your fish. Better show me your fish. Show me your fish.
This is Sport Fishing Championship.
My phone just buzzed, Peter. It said we are live on YouTube. That's the case right now. Sport Fishing Championship from Martha's Vineyard, the 10th annual Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic presented by Garmin Electronics. We've seen some things this week, haven't we?
We've seen a lot of action this week, Rob. We've got 60 boats in the event. We've seen blue marlin, white marlin, spearfish, swordfish, big eyes, yellowfins, bluefins, you name it, these guys have done it.
You can catch all the action, just click on that QR code, but a lot of fish catches and big fish at that as well. These aren't just a bunch of dinks.
As you say that, they're opening the tuna door and sliding a big eye tuna right through the door in the daytime. That is a nice one right there, but something tells me there's going to be a bigger one for them in the nighttime.
Absolutely. Just show me your fish, Peter.
I'm showing you one right now. That's about 500+ pound marlin right there in the whitewash behind the Polarizer.
Big fish, a 4-day tournament. They could only fish 2 days. This is the final day here. And we will crown a champion, just like we always do, whether there's a tie or not. There can't be a tie for the win.
But T0, I'll tell you what, Robbie, T0 did some work on a jumbo, a big female blue marlin right here. They've got a white at the side of the boat, but boy, did they do some work. Here's another white coming to the back of the boat.
Busy, busy times. Now every white worth 125 points. That's the same. That's the same format for you're in Louisiana or here.
Here comes that big fish. You want to show me your fish, Robbie?
Yeah.
Show me that one. I'll be impressed because they're measuring that one right there, and it is a giant female, over 600 pounds.
Yeah, it's a 350-point fish weighing more than 550 pounds. Zooming through the boats moored off there at Oak Bluffs. The leaderboard, this is what we think it's going to look like when all things are said and done, and it looks like a tie for the win, but we know we can't have a tie for the victory. Rainmaker caught their blue marlin before Polarizer did, so 1,300 points is enough to get it done, and you need to catch that blue just a little bit quicker.
And all it took was about an hour and 11 minutes earlier than Polarizer, and that's what took them to the top of the leaderboard.
And even looking at Starfish back there in third, they were one white marlin away from taking the championship overall. Speaking of the big blue that we saw a little bit from the side there, let's see how it all went down with T0. Now, this is a team who chose not to go out on day 1 and 2. They went out on day 2 and day 3.
And that allowed them to fish in a much smaller fleet because, as we know, day 1 and day 2, the weather was better. There are about 35 to 40 boats that went out on day 1 and day 2, but by day 2 and day 3, the crowd slimmed out, trimmed out, and these guys went out and kind of had the water to themselves. They're hooked up right now. This is Doug Lebda with a big 130 reel. That's as big as we can go, and he's fighting a big fish. This is a shotgun rod, as Katie was telling us, and this is a lure that is way back in the spread into clean water, no white water anywhere to be found, but if there's line pulling off this reel, you know it's a big fish, and that's when you get in a chair and you strap in and you go to war.
Heaviest class of rod and reel combo there. We see Doug with some very good form as well, reeling on his way down, trying to make ground on the way up. He's done this a time or two, but we find out later this is his personal best.
This is personal best for many of the boats that go out there. You know, it's not uncommon to catch, you know, 100 and 200 and 300 pounders, but a fish of this magnitude is kind of a rarity.
You see the captain trying to work around, and you see that fish, the silhouette of that fish. At this point, they knew they had a big one. Now they know they have a big one.
That'll make you weak in the knees. And this is where you want to hang on to your buddies as they're trying to measure the fish, trying to get the hook out. This is high freeboard on this boat, and they've also got a rail down there, which also kind of impedes their grabbing of the fish. But, you know, they're doing everything that they can, and they're being held by their ankles by their co-mates, anglers, friends, family, you name it. They're hanging on to their guys because they're on their hip bones trying to hold on to this big 650-pounder.
This is all for their own personal satisfaction. That is a qualified catch already. They are reviving the fish, keeping that mouth in the water, running the water through the gills. But that tape measure out there is going to give them a good idea of how big this fish is. And there you see what Peter was talking about. They're having to lean over so far. They're not 7, 8 foot tall where they can just reach down in the water. That's a long ways down.
You could almost put floaties on his arms and he could jump in with that fish as they hold the leader, and he can kind of try to measure it from there. He's got the GoPro on his chest. I wonder what that looks like, if it's facing the fish or not. But if you look at the size of that bill, how easily that could stun a tuna and just gobble it down. 30, 40, 50 pound, 60 pound tuna maybe.
Let's go. Fucking real.
Well done.
What a fish.
What a catch for Doug there. They're not the only team in the Atlantic that was fishing. Again, we've been hunting around the Atlantic the last couple of weeks. We're going to make a move to another one of our Garmin featured teams. And there's that ring you were talking about. It's a 130-mile barrier, but they're really paying off on these canyons, these drop-offs.
A ton of canyons there, Robbie, and we don't have that down in South Florida. We have some mounts and we have a few cracks, but nothing like this. And that explains why this fishery is so vibrant, because there's so much activity and so many crevices and drop-offs and contour changes that it's just inevitable that's going to be loaded with fish. But lights out right now has a big fish on, and they are working it.
Again, lights out, the defending champ of this tournament, taking the title last year in the inaugural season, the Sport Fishing Championship. Our Moore Yacht Sales chase boat tracked them down and said, why not launch the drone? Brad Young said, I got you covered.
Yeah, and he's got the angler has the harness on. You know, that's a stand-up setup where you've got it below your butt, you got it around your kidneys, and then you got the fighting belt on your thighs. You've got everything positioned and measured out for you as the angler. You know, if you go from a 220-pound guy to a 160-pound guy, it's going to be a very different fit. It's going to be a different arm length. It's kind of like a boxer. You know, what's your wingspan? You know, what's your reach? And that's why you have to set it up. And you can see that blue jumping right next to the boat, and you see it behind there and going full speed in reverse, trying to get the release on this fish. They're ever so close.
I believe this was day number 1 with the lights out, about 8:11. Ethan Schenker on that rod and reel. You see other boats in the background.
It's a hot spot, and there's a nice sized fish right there in that prop wash, Robbie. You're gonna see that fish going away in that white wash. You see it there in the center. One more hello and one more goodbye. Swimming away.
High fives for Ethan, although he could hardly raise his hand up. Fighting that fish to perfection.
Yeah, it's kind of relaxing. After you see this, you almost feel like you fought the fish and you finished. You and I tend to get quiet when we see this scene. We're like, oh, well, I caught that fish. Let's relax for a moment. Let's regain our composure, you know? And but they're back at it. That's where all the boats are. There's obviously birds, there's obviously bait, and there's obviously blue marlin for lights out.
You're anything but chill. As soon as you catch one, I know what you're doing. You're going, Hank, let's drop baits. Let's get it going again. Let's go catch another. Strictly business, another look at day 1 for them. Not a risky business, but a strictly
business. And they were kind of into the sword zone right here. You could see that setup. It is perfectly fitted. I love this harness, stand-up harness setup. He is completely like lined up and ready to do whatever he's got to do to squat this fish, to wind quickly. It's just very convenient. He's got it ergonomically set up so he can wind with the appropriate power and don't waste any energy because he's got everything just right.
60-foot Viking, based out of, what was it, Falmouth, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah. From Falmouth, you're looking, is that our guy, Electric John?
That's Johnny the Electric Clark.
Johnny, yeah, Johnny Electric Clark. I think he's 15 years old, is that right? Or is
really?
Yeah, I thought that the 15-year-old John Clark, is this There's 2 John Clarks on board.
I'll tell you, that line's creeping off. You know, you're fighting these fish, you know, from 2,000 feet down on the bottom up. Sometimes they scope up and they'll come up jumping and you're gonna be taking up slack the whole way. Other times you're gonna be fighting it and they get ornery. I've caught a 70-pounder that took me as long to catch a 200-pounder. Very different, but you saw him hooked up at 4. Now the sun's setting, so we're talking this is definitely a 4-hour fight for this. He's fishing in 2,000 feet of water, most likely, with a 10-pound lead. Just dropping that bait down to the bottom takes 10 minutes. Bringing it up takes 20 minutes.
You hear him grunting. Ah!
Yeah.
He's running out of gas. Somebody spray some water on me.
I caught a 280 sword once, one night, at night, not even in the sunlight, and I'll never forget, I drank 9 bottles of water. I just couldn't get enough water. I was getting so dehydrated, and the rod was just, you know, bent like that, and I was just squatting with everything I had, and you just can't stop. And when the fish does stop, Robbie, you can't stop. If they rest, you cannot rest. That's when you go to work.
That's when you make up ground, right? And this fish was tail wrapped a little bit. Don't know where that happened in the duration of the fight, but it will make it a little tougher to get in. Saw your little, was that the squid? Yep, you seeing that, the bait right there.
Yep, he's got some fresh calamari sliding up the leader there. You got not 1, not 2, but 3 gaffs in that fish. That's, they're not gonna miss that one.
The coloration of that fish was awesome too, looking inside its mouth and down to the side.
Yeah, they have a purple hue to their backs. It's pretty awesome when they come next to the boat. That is an exciting fish to catch and great eating.
And also, it's a very tasty fish. They're beautiful and tasty.
Yeah, what he said. Oh, God, I tell you what, Robbie, you and I are always thinking alike, and I like that. So we're working together for years here, and we've got George on Team Polarizer, you know, putting on a clinic. These guys were catching white marlin, they're catching swords, they're catching blue marlin, and even a spearfish.
Absolutely. This man, I mean, it seemed like it was just a week ago he was spraying the deck. You know, now he's catching a super grand slam in the sport fishing championship.
Listen, the owner's got to do everything. He could be making food, he could be cleaning blood off the underside of the gunnels one day, and the next day he is the champion angler catching all the species of fish.
So this is a special day for him, catching a spear, and I know he said in 40 years he'd never done that, but I think that could be that super grand slam that he was referring to. And we're actually going to talk to him in just a bit, but at this point, when you do realize it's a spear and you've not seen one of these, I mean, you had to be going, oh my. Like right now, you're like, this is a unicorn.
Yeah, it's definitely a jaw dropper when you're out there and you're catching white after white after white, then catching the blues, catching the tunas, and then you assume that this is probably another white marlin or maybe a small blue, and then it gets next to the boat and your jaw drops and you say, my gosh, this is a spearfish.
Yeah,
and
it may be even a more rare spear than a typical spear. Like around these parts, I think the round scale spearfish is more common. This winds up being a longbill spearfish that is even lesser common.
Even more rare.
That too.
How do you like yours, well done or rare?
Don't go there.
Well, I'll tell you what, George, well done. He did it. He got 4 different billfish species to the boat. That is a super grand slam. That is a super job, and you know, not one that they'll ever forget. This will be etched into their memory in the atolls of their brains for the rest of their lives.
Now, right here, still might be guessing, but watch. You can hear it in the moment. You can hear it in their voices. Hey, look what this is.
Fish is lit. You can see that short-statured dorsal, kind of like a sailfish trimmed off down the middle. And it looks like a combination between a sailfish and a white marlin, and it's got either a long bill or a short bill. This one happened to have a long bill, which George called out immediately.
Super slam!
That's an evil laugh right there, isn't it?
Wow!
That is the happy laugh. That is incredible work by the Polarizer. Nice work.
Hey, we saw that evil laugh a couple of times. Also caught a very big blue in a school of tuna, and we'd like to welcome everybody on our studio set here, and we'd like to welcome George Robinson with his evil laugh on site there. The passion is real, George. You proved that. Dude, how good does it feel to be you doing that super slam, something we haven't seen in the SFC before?
Well, Robbie and Peter, it's great to be back with you two guys after our tournament last week. And, you know, we came up here not really familiar with the waters. We've never really fished off of this area before. But, you know, Captain Bill, you know, he dials it in, and we're familiar with the canyon-style fishing and the water temperature charts that we're looking at and what have you. I can just tell you that it was probably one of the most exciting tournaments with top-level competition out there. And the good news for us, and I think you mentioned a little bit earlier, is for the most part we were by ourselves. You know, we made our own plan, and we were going to fish for marlin, blue marlin, white marlin, what have you. And that really worked out. And I can't say enough about Captain Bill and the rest of my team.
Well, you did phenomenal work, and congratulations on all those catches. But I have so many questions. I feel like I could talk to you on camera and off camera for another 3 hours. But tell me about this spearfish. When it bit, what did it bite? What did you think it was? And give us the lowdown on how that all went down.
Right, Peter. Well, you know, we set up our team that we all fish the same positions on the boat. And my son Greg is right flat. I'm always right long. My other angler, Kurt Von Seekum, he's my left long. And, you know, so, you know, up it came. It was a blind bite, to be honest with you. It really was one of those things where, okay, I feel like I got the bite. He actually came off the flatline bite and swam out by me, and I felt the bite and came tight on it. And, you know, we're in a little bit of a fight. Fish fought good, and, you know, it wasn't until it got close that we're looking at this fish and saying, holy smokes, no, that's not, you know, that's not normal here. You know, it's, you know, we catch somewhere between 70 and 100 billfish, you know, up in the Northeast every summer. We spend some time down in DR and other locations, Palm Beach, the Abacos. So we see our fair share of billfish. And I've had the good fortune of being involved, believe it or not, with a couple others many years ago as well.
That's such a cool thing. So while you were fighting this fish, like a blind bite, that's what Robbie and I were discussing. I said, I bet it came up and it ate, and nobody really saw it per se, because you guys did seem pretty surprised when it came to the transom and it was a spearfish. But while you were fighting it, I was watching the tip of the rod and I was thinking, man, it's like almost like it's a tuna at sometimes. Maybe it's a small blue. What were you thinking while you were fighting the fish? What did you think it was?
Just another wild animal that we're chasing after. This is what they do. It's very unpredictable. I could just give another example. When we fished down in Dominican Republic this past winter, you know, 30-pound blue marlins, they will dog you like a 100-pound white marlin. And it doesn't matter the size. It doesn't matter where you're catching it. These fish can really fight tough. And the other part of it, too, is we fish light tackle. We're fishing, you know, 30-pound main line, 30-pound rod, 30-pound Shimano reels. That's just the way we roll. We're not fishing heavy-duty stuff. We pitch for the big marlins with bigger, you know, 50Ws, 80s, what have you. But, you know, for the rest of the species, we fish 30, and it looks a lot tougher than it is, and you just got to take your time and be focused in on the line, what's going on, and that's how we roll.
All right, let's get a little more in depth. We saw you in some great areas, and I challenged everybody on our CBS show today when we knew what you had. I said, I want you to look in the background, and you tell me if you see another boat. I don't think I ever saw a boat, but what we did see in the foreground was a lot of tuna. You were around a lot of bait fish. I mean, there was some foaming going on, and you were taking advantage of it. If you weren't catching tuna, you were catching the billfish that are around those tuna.
That's right, Robbie. You know, we saw, I mean, these were Volkswagen-sized tuna fish. 100-pound, 200-pound, you know, whether they were bluefin or big eyes, I couldn't tell you. But these things were monsters. So, you know, when we got up close to it, I told my team, I said, look, let's get our 30-pound gear out of the way. Let's get in our pitch baits. We had 280 pitches, you know, ready for blue marlin. And we put them on the flats, and we just waited it out. We thought we were going to get bit by these big tuna fish. But lo and behold, as I kind of thought would happen, that blue marlin, you know, stuck his head up there. And he came up right after my right flat line. I just happened to be standing next to it instead of Greg for a change. And, you know, dropped it in that big mouth. And I thought I'd missed it. I was like, oh, God, because he started to take away. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know, a little bit panicked, but I knew that he was aggressive. Well, as it turns out, he turned and he went after our right chain. I was like, okay, time to start reeling and let's get this thing hooked up and go. And that's exactly what had happened. It was so much fun. That mouth was so big. And he just swallowed that mackerel like it was nothing.
That's when we heard your first evil laugh, too, when you got that blue marlin around this match. And we're looking at it right now. I mean, that is a boil, Peter.
That right there, a couple of those fish right there, that's what we were talking yesterday. Those are 200-plus pound fish, like you're saying. And then you got into the smaller ones. You know, that was a different school, I believe. And as you troll through, you're thinking, right? You're thinking big tunas. We're going to catch one of them. And lo and behold, like you said, a big blue marlin. How big do you think that blue marlin was, and how long was the fight?
Well, that's a great question, Peter. You know, I kind of called it at 600. It's only the second time in my lifetime that I've caught, you know, class blue marlin like that. I caught one down at Penis Bay at Tropic Star Lodge with Zane Andrews at the captain, and he called it a 600. I think these fish were, this fish was of similar size. We don't typically catch these size blue marlins. We typically, you know, see on average, you know, the 350, a few 400-pounders mixed in, and obviously a lot smaller ones as well that you know, we catch up here in the Northeast or down in DR or over in the Abacos for that matter.
George, thank you for your time. We wish you good luck. We're going to see you in about a week and a half time at the Tri-States Canyon Shootout, the next stop of the Sport Fishing Championship. George Robinson, Team Polarizer, second place here in back-to-back-to-back events. That's probably something he didn't want to hear. He was just one fish, maybe a little time better, and he would have taken the win in the Oak Bluffs event.
SFC coverage of the Garmin Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic is sponsored by Frito-Lay, Margaritaville, South Padre Island, Denison Yachting, and by Salt Life.
When it comes to performance, comfort, and functionality, we've got you covered. Performance apparel designed by anglers to make your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
This spring, settle in and reconnect with one another. South Padre Island has so many great places to stay. Condos, resorts, and hotels. Oh my! Book your spring getaway today. And start making memories poolside with the people you care about most. Visit SoPadre.com.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
Pine tar, bay rum, all natural, all natural.
It's time for your old soap to take a
hike with Dr. Squatch, the best natural men's soap, deodorant, shampoo, and so much more.
Dr. Squatch is for players like Justin Herbert, who are here to shake things up, who break records and hearts, who are tough on the outside and soft on the skin side, who only use natural performance enhancement and want their end zone to be fresh.
Go to drsquatch.com today. Feel like a man, smell like a champion.
Are you ready for the ultimate luxury fishing experience? Join the Sport Fishing Championship talent on the SFC Experience, where you'll explore incredible fisheries and enjoy world-class hospitality from diverse cultures and SFC partner locations. With the SFC Experience, you'll create unforgettable memories with friends, families, or colleagues. Book your trip today and embark on the adventure of a lifetime with the SFC Experience.
SFC coverage of the Garmin Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic is sponsored by BioLite, Publix, Durabright, and by Hop Water, a non-alcoholic sparkling hopped water.
Hop on one of them boats, take it for a cruise around Martha's Vineyard, Garmin Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic. Our 8th stop is now complete. We move on to number 9 in about a week and a half time, the Tri-States. Canyon Shootout. We're still wrapping up this show. Let's talk about another team, Catch and Reese. Not Catch and Release, but Catch and Reese, the 45-foot Hatteras. Ryan Sillery, the owner of that vessel. So we've seen some big fish. Now it's time to see one of the tuna varieties.
What is going on?
What is going on? The captain said he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it, but they've got their bag out there filled with ice, and that's where you want to put those championship fish.
He said, what's going on, guys? You got to get your stuff together quicker than that.
Look at the technique there, the squat.
Yeah, he does good.
Squat, boom, he's got it. He's also staying low so he doesn't go out of the boat. A lot of times you're kind of, survival mode when you're hooked up to a big tuna.
I would have my feet all the way up against that wall, drop.
He's got to back up though and get out of the way of the gaff men. You don't want to miss that fish on the gaff. And the fish is pinwheeling now, so it's doing the circles. And as they do the circles and he pulls up, it's going to come up another couple feet every circle. And finally, it's time. You don't want to go early and you don't want to go late.
I wonder what Slip 14 is in Nantucket. It sounds like a party destination, doesn't it?
It does. That's a nice name for a bar.
You're coming with me.
That's right, and they're coming over. Strong guys coming in.
Let's go!
Look at that.
He gave us some solid technique, though.
We did.
It's wingy time.
That's right.
Woo! Peter like wingy.
But Peter like tuna more. Sound like a caveman over here.
Oh, you crazy, man. You crazy.
Oh,
Miss Wilder, the 60-foot Hatteras out of Osterville, Massachusetts. Scott Wilder, the namesake, our cameraman junior on board, getting the lovely shots. We're going to see some. So we've seen the form of that big-eye tuna. We're going to see a man bent over here in just a second, just struggling for inches at a time.
I love it when the captain's happy. When the captain's in a good mood, they're backing on a fish and that beautiful golden light, and the line's just creeping off the reel, a little give and take. That angler knows exactly what he's doing. He's strapped into that bucket seat, that bucket harness. He's clipped into the reel. It's a slow creep off the reel, and as soon as he can, he's going to give a little push, a little squat back, and get some line. Just a little bit every time, and then you lose some. So it's a give and take, and sometimes these battles take 15 minutes, and sometimes they take, hours and hours.
See that reel, that line. You're going the wrong way. How does he know where we're going?
He's got him right there. He's got him in that prop wash. Team Miss Wilder, brand drowning. Nice fish. There's that tag stick with a leader cutter, a multi-tool, Swiss Army style.
All purpose.
Oof. Look at that fish in the prop wash, it's gorgeous.
That was just before nighttime, that release blue marlin. 7:25.
Nice move by the mate to drag him over to the side. Perfect timing.
That's not a fun size blue. That's a good size one as well.
That's a chunky monkey.
It's fun when you catch them and you release them, though.
You see, the freeboard's a little less on this boat, So he's not all the way down on his hip bones, on his hip flexors, but he is being held by his teammate by the ankles with a death grip.
Yeah, that hatter is a little bit different setup, but nonetheless, you're seeing a couple blues being caught, different teams. In total, I think 19 blues caught in this event, 40 whites, 6 swordfish. We got 0 spears, but we know there's a special spear out there somewhere, but it's a longbill spearfish. Peter, I want to hear from Katie.
Yeah, where's Katie?
Where is Katie? There's Katie. How you doing? I mean, the tournament's done. I'm looking at the numbers. That's pretty solid. The spearfish, we mentioned about that. I got to see that you caught a spearfish. So out of all 3 of us, I'm the only one without a spearfish.
Well, I guess we got to get you a spearfish, Robbie.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, we caught this one. We caught this one in Madeira back in 2021 on our boat. It was a good fish, a 54-pounder. We decided to harvest that one because it was such a good size. And I tell you what, Peter, I'm sure you can vouch for me. That meat is so good.
Yep, they make those poke bowls out of them. Where I caught mine in Kona in Hawaii, I wasn't familiar with the harvesting of these fish, and I caught it. I'm like, hey, take a video, take a video. And before I knew it, the fish was on the deck, and I was like, huh? And he said, no, we eat these. This is what we do. And they bring it home, they cut it up, they chill it, and then they make a poke bowl, and they call it hebi. H-E-B-I, hebi.
Hebi, huh. Hey, Katie, I got to ask you, and I didn't get the chance to ask George then, and I want to commend him on acknowledging that was that longbill spearfish, because, again, I think a lot of people look at it and go, okay, spearfish and points, and that wasn't the case. They didn't get points for that fish, and in doing so, they're going to finish second in this tournament. What's it been like out there being around that team and everybody with the OBBC seeing that fish?
I mean, I really can't say enough how incredible the sportsmanship has been here at this event. Everybody has shown up. They have been face value. They have been supportive of each other. And Team Polarizer really just, I think they took the cake with the level of honesty, but also the level of humility that came with that fish. They were so stoked on that incredible accomplishment. And I think that shouting out Team Polarizer on this is the right move here, because they are awesome.
With a super grand slam to boot, their first one. That's really impressive. I mean, we got guys catching walleyes, taking weights down their stomachs. I mean, this is like the guy admitting that, hey, I know it's a longbill. I know it doesn't count. That's cool with me. We caught a slam, and we're happy as could be. Happy as clams, because you're in a clam area right there. It's very clammy and oystery out there, isn't it?
Final thoughts, Katie. What do you do on your last day?
So many lobster rolls.
Yeah. Is that the plan now?
Well, I'm going to get a lobster roll for sure, because I can't get enough of it. But no, and you guys touched on the spearfish. And Peter mentioned this the other day, the round scale spearfish wasn't even an identified species up until like a couple decades ago. At the Mid-Atlantic tournament, they had Dr. John Graves there doing studies on their white marlin, and they realized that there were fish that were coming in that were quite a bit different, and that's how we know where the round scale spearfish and also the hatchet marlin, it's the same fish, it's the same species. That's how we know that those even exist.
Yeah, maybe we should just make it spearfish. Because it's too much. I mean, if we have to call scientists, to the doc to say, hey, what's this? I don't know. I think we should just let spearfish stand as spearfish. There's a lot in that little grouping.
Peter, next year. We've got the rules are the rules now. But again, we're sticking with the OBBC rules for this one. Katie, thank you for all you do, and we'll get to see you in about a week and a half. Good having you. Back out on the water with our Garmin team spotter. This is how we ended the day on day one. Team Gypsy.
By day and by night, Team Gypsy gets it right.
Yes, they do. And Jordan with another big eye tuna. He caught one last year. He catches one this year, but the difference being is the big eye tuna is a championship fish now, and it wasn't before. Yeah, they won a lot of money last year with the OBBC, but here, this could be a $50,000 fish.
Is a championship fish a big fish, Robbie?
Well, it can be, or it could be a small, but a winning championship fish, it better be a big one.
I'll tell you what, they obviously hooked this fish during the daytime. They were trolling. They've got that daisy chain set up, and they've got a J-hook on the end of it, and they fought this well into the evening. You know, when you've got a 245-pound big eye on the end of your line and you're fighting it for hours, I mean, it's a tough situation, but luckily the hook stayed in. You got this fish right alongside the boat, and those underwater lights are gonna light it up like a 4th of July.
I'm looking at those teasers there lit up, a little iridescence, a little fluorescence in those things.
Yeah, they really light up with those underwater lights. That's a good-sized fish, boy.
Yeah, that's a big one. And again, they did this last year, and at that point, they're like, oh, we won this sucker.
Here we go, tuna door, wait for the celebration. That sounds like an entire stadium of people screaming. That's unbelievable, the excitement that that fish can bring to these guys that have been fishing their entire lives. It never gets old, Robbie.
Well, there's our guy, Sean Crowley, in the mix. Oh, Sean, they did win this sucker. They did win the big fish, I believe, in the big eye tuna category. And as far as championship fish division, current leaders are concerned, these 4 individual fish, the mahi, the yellowfin, the wahoo, and the big eye tuna, all you have to do is put up $250 per angler that wants to be eligible for a chance to win $50,000 for each one of these categories of fish. Started off with the wahoo, which was won actually here last year. Jordan Sanford, 103-pounder. This year, it's a 52-pounder. Team Rising Suns with the lead in Jason Berthaloff.
That fish is as big as her. That's a perfect size.
Next up, the mahi-mahi, and this guy, he had a great week at the Gulf Coast Masters, didn't he?
He did, a 33.6-pound mahi. Not a jumbo, but it is still leading. And he is no stranger to the championship division, as you'll see here with his yellowfin weighing in at 189.6 pounds on the Just Lookin'. That's Gus Rance smiling. That's called a grab and grin right there. That's called a hold it with everything you got and grin, actually.
Can you imagine just going to the casino and putting $250 on one number and coming out with $50,000? That's got to be the feel that he has right now. Not only $50,000, but $100,000. And that's the same thing that Jordan did. Once again, that fish we just saw at night wound up weighing 245 pounds. That's a toad.
I think it's going to stand. I think it's going to be
even next week. Block Island.
I think it's going to. It's not easy to catch that fish, to get it in the boat. It's one thing to hook it. Can you get it to the boat?
That's true. We're going to look ahead to not only Block Island. We've still got Padre. We've still got this White Marlin Open with over 400 boats, and we cap off our year. We end it with the championship, the International Billfish Tournament in Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico, we call ourselves Boricua. We're proud, passionate, and full of life. On our island, adventure finds you. Strangers aren't strangers for long. The size of the audience doesn't change the beauty of the music, and we celebrate every last ray of sun. Live Boricua.
Salt Life, the official sunglass partner of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda Shaw. We all know Louisiana is as fun as all get out. So get out, take a road trip, and explore our state. Fill her up, then try a new restaurant that's as fun-loving as it is food-loving. Grab the family and take off for monumental adventures at our 21 state parks. Or take a magical minivan tour along our 19 scenic trails and byways. Louisiana's a trip. Take one today.
This is Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Plan your road trip at LouisianaStaycation.com.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in, plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
SFC coverage of the Garmin Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic is sponsored by Garmin, Invincible Boats, Visit South Padre Island, and by SFC Experience.
I need to call them up. I want to be a part of that SFC experience. I got to go out one time at the Sport Fishing Championship. Guess where it was?
In Puerto Rico?
Yes, San Juan International Billfish Tournament. Last year, I got to go out, and I got to see a marlin hit our lure within 3 miles of the shore. I mean, that thing hammered that lure. It scared me. I'm not going to lie. The captain, everything went crazy. We didn't catch it, but it was special for me.
That's why a lot of fishermen have back issues, because we go from a cold start into a heated battle, and you got to be able to move around the cockpit quickly, and you got to strap in, fight these big fish. And I'll tell you what, it could squeeze the guts out of you.
It's the finish of our season once again at the end of August. We'll look to see everybody there, the International Billfish Tournament, where the SFC champion will be crowned. They'll get to walk away with that Zane Gray Championship trophy, and with it, $1 million.
To kiss the crystal. That is Stanley Cup of fishing right there. That is a beautiful trophy.
Again, trying to take the victory like Sorry Victoria did last year. Taking the SFC Championship, that was Team Quantified and Justin Drummond.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to award the 2022 Sport Fishing Championship and the Zane Gray Championship Trophy to Captain Justin Drummond and Team Quantified. Congratulations, gentlemen. Let's go. There we go.
Popping bottles.
Popping bottles and hanging out with their Zane Gray trophy and their $1 million check, plus their $100,000 check for the Gulf Division win as well.
On a 10 scale, the pucker factor, see that trophy shaking? The pucker factor for the commish right there, we were on a 12. He was nervous because that's the only one of his kind.
And how much is it worth, Robbie? A trophy alone?
A lot. I don't know. It's a lot. It's the only one that there is.
It's a custom made out of crystal. Let's just say it's a lot. But that is a phenomenal moment right there, being able to pump $1 million check. That's every fisherman's dream to be able to do that, and they did it, and they did it well.
Can they do it again, though? Last year, we have a little different point structure. They got catch points. We give you catch points to give you event points for 2023, and right now, Quantified almost perfect. Golly, they've got 2 wins and a second place. So 3,500 points for a win, and that second place, 3,000 points.
And we always talk about that consistency, and this is, Quantified doing what they do best. And again, it's consistency, consistency, consistency. A second, a first, and a first, taking them to 10,000 points.
Yeah, they're 500 points for being at a perfect score. In the Gulf Division, they are the Gulf Division champions, so they already won $100,000, right? So the Gulf and the Atlantic win $100K. Gulf's determined, and it started here, their role, after a 0 in Louisiana, Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic, they would get their first podium, a second place.
That's right. They got 11 fish in this tournament, getting those double digits. They got white marlin hopping all around the boat. They got sailfish. No blue marlin for them on this one, but they got them, and they got that positioning, which they need. It's all about consistency, right? I can't stress that enough. This is a super rough day right here, and this is where they caught 20 billfish in the tournament to get a first place.
And they saved their best for last, right? I mean, 7 on day 1. We're like, oh man, they might run away with it. A little bit of a lag, but then 8 on day 3.
That is impressive work. 16 and 4. Woof. Popping that leader off, fish swims away, and they are absolutely fine. Circle hook in the corner of their mouth.
I believe this was the most fish ever caught in the ECBC as far as billfish by one team.
For sure.
Again, day 1 with a couple, but day 2's when they lit it up. 9.
Oh, yeah.
8 sails and a blue.
2 blues. They got 2 blues, day 1 and day 2. It's impressive work by these guys, and that's a that's a sailfish right there. And this was the sailfish. They didn't know what it was until it came right to the back of the boat, and it jumped. And that's when I saw James jumping up and down, go, "Oh my, it's a sailfish!" Another 75 points right there.
Hercules,
Bingo.
Hercules, Hercules. Yeah, they knew what it was in. That was some cha-ching. That was more money.
Teamwork making the dream work.
Trying to take a victory at the final golf event down in Padre Island in a couple of weeks. They finished second last year.
Why don't we get our Bosun's Marine replay? Oh,
let's
read
do
my
it.
mind. Replay of the day with a 600+ pound blue marlin at the side of the boat, trying to revive it, doing the measurements. These guys are hanging on this fish with everything they've got.
And they did not bring this fish in. They do not bring any of the blue marlin in, like some tournaments might. Usually we've talked about it locally. If it's a 110, they could bring it in. Not here at the Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic.
That's right.
That's cool, because, I mean, now somebody can maybe catch that fish. Maybe it grows to 700, 800. Maybe it's a grander one day.
And here's the top 5 teams sitting right there on those canyons, right off those edges, working it hard. And that's why they are at the top of the leaderboard, all 5 of those teams. Polarizer doing a super slam, which is the first time it's been done in the Sport Fishing Championship. That is 4 different species of billfish, and that is impressive work. There's George working on yet another fish.
Yeah, besting teams like Keep Dreaming, No Mercy. Starfish actually had the first blue marlin of the tournament. They got that 100-point bonus. Then you have Rainmaker and Polarizer, and inevitably they would tie on points. Rainmaker wasn't our featured team, one of our featured teams, so we did not have video from them, but their fish count added up the same as Polarizer's. Polarizer did it in spectacular fashion with a variety. 7 white marlin, 1 blue marlin, and a swordfish. Throw in that spearfish that was hanging around these tuna.
Let's take a look at these giant tunas cruising around in this frothy water, eating whatever they're eating. This is George laughing like a little kid because he just trolled through the middle of them expecting to get one of those, but no, he gets about a 600-pound plus marlin instead.
Yeah, he thought it could have been 6. I think he may be right. That was a big fish straight off the back of that boat.
And here he's fighting the spearfish. And we've got that next to the boat. You never want to shake that weed off. If you got weed on there, just let it ride. They've already tagged it, and we've got a spearfish.
I still want to give a shout out to Polarizer and George for calling themselves out, stating that that was a long bill spearfish. That did not count for points. It came down to them and Rainmaker. They both would end up with 1,300 points. So if that would have been a round scale spearfish, a different variety, they would have gotten the points for it, 125. But instead, they tie in points, and the first tiebreaker is first blue marlin caught among the tied teams.
1 hour and 11-minute difference was the difference between first and second place.
So unfortunately for Polarizer, they will finish second for the 3rd event in a row for the Atlantic, but making it rain is Rainmaker.
That's right, taking first place because they caught it first, and we've got Starfish in 3rd, No Mercy in 4th, and Keep Dreamin' in 5th place, tied with Some Assault right below them.
And congratulations, Rainmaker. Ari Hasiotis, the 61-foot Darlington. Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic is now done, and where does it put Polarizer? It's got them in 3rd now, so they jump from 5th to 3rd, 500 points behind All In. They still have 2 more Atlantic Division stops to go, and they're going to be tough. The Tri-State Canyon Shootout as well as the White Marlin Open.
You got to creep.
Very consistent, though. second, but look at that team on top. But it's not done yet. All In could still win the championship. Polarizer could win the championship. Rebecca still has a shot. And there's nothing saying, and Rebecca's fishing in Texas at Pechanga as we speak. They could join us on the Atlantic for a stop. Maybe they could get a win.
That's right. We got the next event coming up is the Tri-State Canyon Shootout, where Robbie and I will be sharing a room, and I get the remote control.
I got top bunk. That's all that counts. We hope to see more billfish being caught there and of our championship variety as well. On behalf of Katie Sawyer and Peter Miller, I think we should do it again, Peter.
I think we can just keep doing this every week until we run out of air.
Your top 3, Rainmaker, Polarizer, and Starfish. Thanks for watching Sport Fishing Championship on YouTube. We'll see you in about a week and a half's time. Is Ronnie going to join us for that one? He might.